Hello, welcome to my XPDLA post-draft review. I'm your host, Smeargle123, Devin123, Dr. Friend123, whatever the fuck you want to call me. We are going over all of the I was watching Jolt's GBA Season 9 season before recording this. We are going over all of the drafts for XPDLA Season 5, the Flare Division, Division 1, as I personally like to call it, because I'm a fuddy-duddy. This is everybody's post-draft plus grace period drafts, so the only people that really affects in terms of my opinions on their team is Destiny, who I think his free agents made his team quite a bit better than it is currently, but because it's post-draft, I felt like counting week one transactions wasn't a good idea. And then Tides, who just swapped Latios. It's really not a huge change to his team anyway. His team still kind of just looks similar, just Latios is just a better Pokemon than Latias overall. So yeah, I don't think anybody else made any week 1 transactions. I'm gonna double check just to make sure. Yeah, that only affects Tides and Destiny. So I feel like doing a power rankings for this. I'm just gonna do a league-wide or division-wide analysis of people's teams, pointing out flaws where I see them. I guess I could do like a pseudo power rankings, but I'm not gonna like talk about them in here. Maybe I'll just put an arbitrary ranking and just have my reasonings for why I like and dislike people's teams in the video, and then just like attach a text file and then put that in the description of this video. Maybe make like a paste bin or a poke paste, I guess, because I feel like poke paste is paste bin, but it's just like you can put Pokemon on it. But I don't know if that'll work or not. It might. So yeah, I'm just gonna have like a ranking of everybody's team if people really want, if the people in D1 really want an arbitrary power rankings, then yeah. But I feel like putting everybody's team in order is needlessly complicated, and just everybody's team is good. I think everybody's team is I think everybody's team is suited to them, and there are obviously flaws with every team, but it's hard to pick which teams, aside from, in my opinion, 2 or 3 of them, are up, and which teams are like bad, aside from like 1 or 2 of them. Yes, my team's included in the bad section. I think, yeah, it's just hard to place everyone's teams. So if everybody really wants one, I'm probably just gonna make a text file and put that in the description, link that at the top. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Actually, that's a good middle ground. I just came up with that idea here. So yeah, enough dawdling here. It's been 3 minutes. Let's talk about everybody's teams. So first up, we have Queen, coach of the Mad Hatterines. Her team is pretty fucking busted. So she picked up Dragapult first overall, and then this is not in order of which they drafted their teams. That would probably have been smart of me to put it in that sort of thing, so we could roast people for getting round 3 Empoleon, but that's fine. Dragapult, Mandibuzz, Vaporeon, Whimsicott, Sawk, Zangoose, Mega Mawile, Nihilego, Victini, Sandslash, Rotom Frost. So the reason I'm doing a second take of this, the first take I said she only had 2 Stealth Rockers when that was just plainly wrong. She had 3. Yeah, this team's really good. I think this, in my opinion, is a top 2 team in the league. I don't know how people let Mega Mawile slide to her, because that mon is fucking busted, but okay. Dragapult, in my opinion, is kind of overrated in the format, but I see why people like that thing so much. It's definitely a centralizing mon in prep, and it's got a few sets that are just pretty good on it. So it's got Sub, Hex, Wisp, stuff like that. It's got DD, you know, it's got breaking sets with specs. It can be an okay Scarfer if it wants to be. Its speed tier lets it run Scarf with like Modest a lot of the time. Its coverage is pretty solid. So I see why people like this mon in terms of that. Her defensive core is really gross because it's Sandslash, which got a nice buff with spikes, Whimsicott, Vaporeon, and Mandibuzz. So that's a pretty solid defensive core right there. Whimsicott doesn't usually like going bulky, but Prankster lets it subseed pretty easily, so I consider that more of a defensive mon a lot of the time, especially because it only has 77 base special attack. But obviously, offensive sets aren't anything to ignore. Same thing with offensive Sandslash sets and Vaporeon sets. The only exception to that, to a mon I think that is dedicated defensive on this team is going to be Mandibuzz. I don't think Nasty Plot Mandibuzz is good, but I guess if you wanted to run that, if the matchup calls for it, go for it. But are my bookmarks visible? Should I talk about that? No, I don't think they are. If they are, then sorry. It's just trying to fucking crop a window to suit a Google Doc is fucking infuriating, especially when the legends are all this wide. I've moved Dragapult over Spectrier, so that's good for me. No, I just really like this team. I think it's very suitable. If I were to pick up this team, I probably would make very few transactions. Personally, I would drop Zangoose because I don't think that's a Pokemon. It's definitely... I got fucked by one in the past, but I don't want to talk about it. But this mon, I think, definitely is good on this team, and I think Sawk was a very nice post-draft pickup for her instead of Frosmoth. I felt like Frosmoth on this team, even without Rotom Frost, because I think she picked it up over Rotom Frost. Without a fighting type, I think this team would struggle with steel types, but Sawk definitely puts a lot of pressure on them, and then Zangoose is definitely an okay tier 5. It's the only tier 5 on her team, and I think it's this team well because she was lacking in the priority department outside of Mega Mawile Sucker and Dragapult Sucker Punch. So yeah, definitely a very solid team. One of my favorites in the league. But it'll be pretty high up on the PR text file, I think. So yeah, very good. I like this team a lot. Very offensively scary, offensively hard to prep for. My only issue, I would say, is outside of Victini and Sawk, there's not enough things to pressure steel types right away. And her main offensive threats in terms of Dragapult, Mega Mawile, and Heligo all struggle with steals. But Sandslash definitely applies a lot of pressure to steel types as well, especially because it's not an Unmon anymore because spikes are very nice and the Rapid Spin buff helped it out. So yeah, overall, one of the better teams in the league. I like this team a lot. Up next, we have the Destiny, and like I said, he did make a few transactions to go to the Victorious Bravehearts to make his team better, but I personally... I can't count those transactions for him in his favor for this. I have to go pre-transactions for him, and my main issue with this team is that he picked up a lot of overrated mons. I think he ended up dropping Spectrier, which I think was a good move because I think Spectrier personally is overhyped right now. I think in the future people are going to figure out that you really can just incidentally prep for this Pokemon because it's strong, obviously, and its speed tier is amazing, but its coverage is so fucking dog shit. It's like, this Pokemon is a dog's breakfast, basically, in terms of its coverage. It's got 2 moves that aren't Hyper Beam to hit things that, like normal types and dark types, and the only move it gets to hit dark types is Mudshot. Its other fucking coverage move is Dark Pulse. They really screwed the pooch on this Pokemon's coverage, and that really sucks because this mon had a lot of potential. Obviously, though, Ghost, there are not like very many ghost checks raw in the format, but the fact that most people have a normal type on their team to begin with, and most people have a really solid dark type in the back that really just counter Spectrier, it just goes against it. But I really did like the Buzzwole pickup. The Buzzwole pickup definitely is a very nice offensive partner for Spectrier because in one fell swoop he got a Pokemon that pressures bulky darks and bulky normals. So I do really like that as well. Zero Aura, in my opinion, is one of the most juiced mons in the format. I think people really pump a lot of hype into this Pokemon, and I really have yet to see this Pokemon deliver on people's praises for it, especially in NetDex format. I think the speed tier on this team is very much appreciated, especially with his new transactions that he made. I think Zero Aura is a very fine pickup for this team, especially because we have Legacy move access. What I don't understand is people gassing up Zero Aura in just regular non-HP Gallard in NatDex formats. So something like PCL, for example. I think it was max points to get Zero Aura, which I really didn't understand because it doesn't have hidden power. Obviously it gets Grass Knot for ground types, but that means you still have to run the Evil Mixed set. It's just, I don't know. But definitely in this league with hidden power access, and the fact that its speed tier is really good, its coverage is solid enough. Getting Play Rough this gen was definitely nice. I think Zero Aura is definitely a fine pickup for this team. I like his defensive backbone. Licky Licky plus Suicune on their own make a fucking cancerous pair, but you tack on an Alchemy and a Mesprit, those two go together pretty well. And I feel like he's going to be leaning on defensive Venusaur, because that's what this team looks like it's made for. He has a big speed tier gap, well, actually not really. Well, yeah, after Salazzle he does. So it goes from Zeraora to Spectrier, down to, what's it called, Salazzle, which I liked on this team, but he ended up dropping that, and after he got Spectrier, he picked up Chandelure. In fact, I could talk about his free agents, but I think I'm going to do that after I review everything here. Salazzle, I think it goes down to Moltres, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it looks like it. And it's nice to have the 2 fast Pokemon. 3 really. 3 mons above base 110 is very nice, but he really needed like a soother in there, like a base 100, to definitely ease the speed drops a little bit. I think speed tiers are a little overhyped, but I think speed drops, like astronomical speed drops, are kind of critical. Because yeah, mons that are like base 110 can run Modest, for example. So he really has to watch out in the Lotties matchup with this team. Obviously, I don't think he does anymore. In fact, let me go over his transactions real quick. Yeah, he did address his speed tier problem a bit. He ended up dropping Spectrier for Lando T, Salazzle for Chandelure, Galarian Moltres for Zoroark, and Galarian Stunfisk for Glaceon. I really love those transactions for this team a lot, but again, like I said, I have to go over his initial team, and I do see a few holes with it. I think Galarian Moltres is not that great of a Pokemon, unfortunately. I know he was hyping it up a bit when the draft was going on, but he did end up dropping it after week 1. I just don't think, like, it can be a really annoying mon to prep for, Nasty Plot plus Dark, and then it can run Rest Talk. Like, that's a set I think I came up with. I never actually ran that, but it's a set I wrote up on paper in terms of 4 moves. That can definitely be annoying to prep for. But his team lacks a really good ability to punish fairy types. So that's annoying. Like, his Steel type is a Galarian Fisk. I think he... Like, I mean, let me double check here. I don't think he actually has a Steel type anymore after these changes he made. Yeah, he doesn't. So we'll see if he can make that work. I definitely like his new team better than this one, though. I feel like having a Steel type, though, is pretty essential, because he really struggles with fairies now. And he did before, because Galarian Stunfisk I don't think is very good in the format. Even outside of the... I think it's better outside of the format than it is in it. Its typing is very nice. To be honest, Ground Steel is decent, but it's just Stunfisk, but like, I guess its typing is better than regular Stunfisk, but it's definitely a sturdy Pokemon. It's a nice rocker and everything. He got round 3 Licky Licky, which I thought was pretty juiced, but I think he got like 12 kills with it last season, so, you know, to each their own. I think Licky Licky's definitely a fine Pokemon. For 60 points, I think it's worth it as well. Yeah, this mon's pretty nice. Aside from that, I mean, it's overall a relatively solid team. Destiny's a good player, so he definitely knows what he's doing. I personally would not like having this team, but it is not a terrible team by any means. There are definitely worse teams I've seen, because I once fought a guy who had Tapu Bulu, Pharaoh Seed. I think he also had like a bunch of fucking grass. He just had a ton of grass types, so yeah. There's like 4 grass types, and then he had Mega Steelix. Yeah, or no, he had Mega T-Tar. I think he had Excadrill on that team as well. Anyway, moving on. This team's pretty solid. Like I said, it struggles with fairies. There's a few holes with it. He patched up a decent amount of them. The speed tier gap. The lack of quality mons. I feel like he didn't have a super lack of quality mons. He definitely picked up a bunch of good stuff, but I think his team was made overall better. I think Chandelure is a much better fit on this team, and then having Lando there, obviously amazing. Instead of he upgraded his ground type severely. I think that word works in that situation. I don't fucking know. I've spoken English for only 20 years. Anyway, moving on, 21 years. We got Pawn, coach the Detroit Tyrantrums. I like that team name because the Tigers are a personal favorite team of mine. He has Mega Lop, Slowking, Moltres, Delmise, Weezing, Clefairy, I almost said Exploud, dude. Holy. Hippowdon, Excadrill, Cryogonal, Alolan Persian, and Dracozolt. I like a Sand Team theme going on here, with a bunch of good pivots in there. He's got some slow momentum. He's got some really good rocks options. He's got good hazard stack as well in terms of Weezing T-Spikes. I don't think he has a Spiker on his team. Also, Destiny's team, fuck. I think he only has 2 rockers, so that's kind of a problem. I think now with the transactions. I keep double checking. I think he has 2 rockers still. Yeah, Zorark. Yeah, he only has 2 rockers still, but I think that's okay, because like the only thing that really benefits from stack is Zero Aura and Landorus, and those 2 can break on their own. Zero Aura is probably gonna run bulk up a lot, or Calm Mind, but yeah. Anyway, moving on to Pawn, like I said. So this team definitely complements Megalop pretty well. I think one criticism I have is that he doesn't really have anything else that breaks fat normals and fat. No, he has fat steel breakers. He has a fucking Excadrill. Fat normals. So something like a Blissey or a Chansey outside of Lop. And if you're going to be leaning on Lop to do that, and then Lop is going to have to take the chip damage from those normals or get statused by them, it makes Megalop a fuck ton less effective. I personally, when I draft Megalop as a round 1 pick, and now I'm not picking it up like later on. I think, well, I mean, either way, if you're picking up Megalop, you're kind of drafting around it, I guess. I don't know. I get you're integrating it into a team later on. I think it's different, but I believe this was his first pick. Yeah, obviously, because it's the first mon on here. I think... No, the guy after him drafted Sylveon first. I'm tired as hell. Yeah, this team's pretty good. Like I said, my only problem is that he picked up only one thing that really pressures normals out of the gate, being Lop. I personally, when I pick up a Lop team, I like to get a second fighting type because I want something else to be able to break through the fat normals, so I don't have to get my Lop like statused or anything, but I think Megalop's obviously fine on its own to break through them. It just has trouble just OHKOing a lot of normal types, especially if they're running a Choppleberry, which usually they should be. Dhelmise can try and break through normal types, but a lot of them are going to carry coverage for ghosts, especially because he has a ghost on his team, but Dhelmise can probably soften them up in range of Lop, just as an example. He's definitely got a good amount of breakers on his team as well, so fat normals aren't super big. He definitely picked up good momentum into Lop as well. I really like the Slowking pickup for this team. Being able to get the slow teleport out into a lot of, especially with the Clefairy too, the Clefairy pickup is decent. I don't think Clefairy's that good, but it's definitely a solid fit on this team. The slow momentum from both of those, being able to chew a hit and then being able to teleport into Lop or Drill, definitely nice. Or Dracozolt, definitely nice, especially with Sand Rush being a factor. Hippowdon, he had Gigalith over Hippowdon and then 40 points spare. Actually, I think that is also another transaction that took place after thing. Yeah, I kind of fucked that up. I screwed the pooch on that one, so my bad. He had a Gigalith initially, and I think Gigalith is a better fit on this team than Hippowdon personally, but Gigalith is definitely, yeah, I think Gigalith personally is a better sand inducer than Hippo for Drill. It's kind of complicated how I feel. I don't know. I shift my feeling a lot on sand inducers because I don't think T-Tar is the best one. I think Hippo is definitely the best sand inducer, but I like Gigalith in terms of its value a bit more. Since he had 40 extra points, picking up Hippowdon makes sense. It complements his defensive core relatively well, which consists of Slowking, arguably Moltres, Dhelmise, Weezing, Clefairy, Hippo, Cryo, and Alolan Persian, so he's got a really good defensive backbone. His team is pretty bulky, but people are going to have to prep for his offensive threats because Excadrill, Dracozolt, and Megalop are all really centralizing in terms of prep. I like his hazard removal options. Leaning on something other than Excadrill as being a spinner is definitely something I'm a fan of. He has 3 spinners. Stop hogging them, please. 2 of them, I think Excadrill's obviously the best spinner in the game. I don't think it's even close, especially with the buff. Cryogonal's a suitable spinner, and Dhelmise is definitely underrated as one as well. Dhelmise being able to do dual purpose itself as a water resist, which is very nice for Excadrill, plus Hippowdon. The fact that his team has a few good water resists on it is really nice. Slowking's one of the best in the game for special water types. Dracozolt's are relatively solid. It's not a Scald Switch in, but it is a good water resist. And then he's got a Scald Switch in Cryogonal as well. It also scares out bulky waters to stab Freeze Dry. His team is definitely very, very solid in terms of the offense. His defensive backbone, like I said, is pretty gross. It's a nice, balanced team. And his hazard options are very, very nice. Obviously, with Sand, you're already getting 2 Stealth Rockers because every Sand Inducer gets rocks, and then Excadrill is something you're usually putting on Sand. I've definitely seen Sand without Drill before, and I think that definitely works. But I think Sand Drill is probably the best form of Sand, obviously, and the fact that Drill doesn't need to run Sand Rush, he's definitely suited his team for pretty well with non-Sand Rush Drill. His speed tiers are definitely balanced as well. Mega Lopunny down to Alolan Persian, so 135 to 115. He doesn't have anything around the base 100 or 95 mark, I don't think. Yeah, I think it drops down to Excadrill at 88. So something to wait, no, he has Moltres at 90 as well. So yeah, something to soften the drop between Persian and Moltres. I feel like getting a base 100 is kind of... Oh, wait, no, he has Krog on 105. Never mind, I'm on crack. Yeah, no, definitely a very, very solid set of speed tiers there. Yeah, I have no real irks with this team. He definitely patched up the fighting weakness really nicely as well, because fighting teams sand teams are usually pretty weak to fighting, but he picked up 1, 2, 3, 4 decent resists, a nice immunity, and yeah, he even picked up a few more weaknesses. That's pretty funny. But no, I definitely like this team a lot. Hippowdon, reducing the fighting weakness is pretty nice as well. Yeah, I have no real complaints about this. Moving on to Tides. Actually, maybe he could have dropped Dracozolt for Dracovish. That would have been funny. But, you know, having Dracozolt there is perfectly suitable instead of dropping fucking Gigalith for Hippowdon. I don't know. Dracozolt for Dracovish. I think Dracovish on Sand might be something interesting to explore in the future. Because Dracovish is fucking stupid. Anyway, moving on to Tides' team. Like I said, I like Pawn's team. Destiny's team has a few holes in it. Queen's team, I think, is probably the second or first best in the league. I think it, in my opinion, is the best in the league, actually. But yeah, moving on to Tides, we have Mega Arrow, Florges, Rotomo, Registeel, Garbodor, Kecleon, Darmanitan, Swampert, Latias, Dusclops, and Greninja. Yeah, he ended up dropping Latias for Latios, and that definitely makes this team a lot better, but I still have to judge the team as it is now. And Latias is fine. I think Latios is just that much better than Latias personally, and it definitely suits this team a lot better, having the offensive Lati as opposed to the defensive one, although obviously regular Latias going defensive is definitely pretty scary. His offensive core is pretty scary. He's got good momentum to bring in the Mega Arrow, and there's obviously the speed gap between Mega Arrow and Latias, but I mean, you're going to have a speed gap with a Mega Arrow. That's just how Mega Arrow works. It is the fastest Pokemon in the format. The fact that he didn't pick up any 1As is actually pretty interesting, but he still picked up a pretty solid team through and through. Having the Hazard Stack option with Garbodor is very nice. He's got a few suitable rockers, Swampert, Kecleon, Registeel, Mega Arrow. All those are very good stealth rockers that can run it. Yeah, he's got the physical breakers. I like the fact that he's got the raw physical... Oh, and he's got T-Spikes and Spikes on Greninja too, so actually the Hazard Stack for supporting a Mega Arrow, wearing stuff down for it is very nice. He didn't pick up great... Oh no, he did pick up decent offensive partners for Mega Arrow. Rotomo deals with bulky grounds pretty well. Darmanitan scares off Steels. Yeah, and Rotom scares off bulky waters as well, so definitely very solid. I really like this team. Not too many complaints about it. I think he made a smart decision in switching Latis. And yeah, the momentum on this team is pretty solid as well. Not as solid as it could be, but the Greninja, Swampert, with Flip Turn now being a thing for some fucking reason, Darmanitan, Rotomo, that's definitely a very nice momentum tandem. Nice, I moved Rotomo to the depths of hell. This is a very solid team. I like this a lot. His defensive backbone is pretty solid. My only problem I really have is Dusclops, because it's like a passive fucking momentum-stopping blob, but there aren't really any better ghost types in Tier 5, and yeah, I have a Dusknoir, so I'm not really going to comment on it. I do like this team quite a bit. I wouldn't mind using this myself. Yeah, Mega Arrow is definitely really solid. Moving on to number 5. Person number 5, Slife, coach of the Victoria Victinis. I think I said at the start this is a team I wasn't a big fan of, mostly because he got round 3 Empoleon. That's pretty much my only gripe. But yeah, let's go over it. He's got Tapu Lele, Mega Houndoom, Empoleon, Heliolisk, Articuno, Victreebel, Gliscor, Torkoal, Aerodactyl, Chestnut, and Goodra. So I have a couple of problems with this team. Obviously he got a pretty resounding victory in Week 1. But that doesn't mean I don't think his team is flawed. Like, you can have a really, really just flawed team and still get wins with it. I do not like he got Tapu Lele, and then he picked up a team that doesn't switch into Psychic types that well at all. Houndoom is obviously Dark type, and, you know, it's a very solid Dark type. It's a good Mon. and his Sun Core is definitely really good. He got very good value in the Victory Bell, but my main gripe is the Chestnut pickup. Now, getting spikes on Sun is very good, but I feel like getting mostly. No, I'm not. I'm not salty because I wanted Chestnut during the draft. Trust me, I'm over that already. I feel like the Chestnut pickup on this team is pretty questionable. He's definitely stacking up a fire weakness, and he also has Sun, and he's also stacking up a psychic weakness when he has a Lele on his team. So there's definitely some exploitable defensive holes with this team. His defensive core is pretty decent. Articuno, Empoleon, Chestnut, Torkoal, and Goodra, that's really solid. But yeah, his fire resists are Goodra and fucking Houndoom and Torkoal. So, and I guess Arrow, but Arrow's not really that bulky. It doesn't really like switching in on most hits. So yeah, I feel like he could be better off dropping a Chestnut for another Spiker. That also like another water type would probably be decent on this team, because I don't really like him having Empoleon as his water type, especially on this. I think having Empoleon as your water type is not a great concept to begin with, because it doesn't resist fire in the first place, and that's one of the main perks of getting a bulky water. Especially on a Sun team, I think that's a problem. Obviously, getting 2 water types on Sun seems kind of counterintuitive, but he doesn't have to bring Sun every week. His team's just tilted towards it. Houndoom plus Heliolisk plus Victory Bell. But he doesn't have to bring Sun all the time, and I think having another fire resist would definitely help, especially because bringing in Goodra, that thing's a big momentum sink. If you have to switch out your offensive Sunmon, like let's say you have your Victory Bell out, and someone brings in a Scarfer that's a fire type that outruns it, like Scarf Cinderace, because I have Cinderace, just for example, because that's the first one that came to mind. You really don't have, like, if you're bringing in your Goodra, that sacrifices a lot of momentum, and Goodra isn't going to be able to eat that hit very well anyway. Torkoal coming in is a big hindrance, like, there's a few exploits with this team, but I do like the Sun Core. Lele is definitely a very good Mon. He's got good momentum to bring it in. With Heliolisk, Articuno, and Gliscor, he could definitely go for a bit more Volt Turn. So maybe a bulky water that gets a bit of momentum would suit this team pretty well. Maybe over the Articuno. I do like the Articuno on this team. I like Articuno as a whole. That mon's fucking cracked now, but or maybe he could drop Aerodactyl or something. But maybe the speed tier is very valuable to him. Which it looks like it kind of is, because his team looks pretty slow outside of the Sun. He's got Arrow and Houndoom as his speed demons, and then he doesn't have a base 100, I don't think. I think it goes down to Lele at 95, which could be a problem, and then I think go down to Articuno at 80-something. No, he has Heliolisk at 109, so yeah, he does have a relatively fast team, so I don't know, maybe getting rid of the Arrow is in his best interest. I think getting another fire resist is probably better, because I feel like leaning on Goodra to do that isn't the best. Maybe dropping Chestnut would be better than dropping Arrow, actually. I feel like the Chestnut pick is pretty questionable on this team, but aside from that, I mean, it's a pretty solid team with a Sun aspect to it, and his defensive core is pretty solid, so no big gripes, just the round 3 Empoleon. Anyway, moving on to Sickbid. This is one of the better teams in the league, in my opinion. He's got Mega Gallade, Tapu Bulu, Regieleki, Umbreon, Noivern, Stunfisk, Celesteela, Heatran, Audino, Slowbro, and Shuckle. I fucking hate Slowbro and Slowking. I forgot to bring that up with Bielpon's team, but fuck Slowbro and Slowking. I hate those cunt mons, because Teleport plus Regenerator is fucking stupid, but I hate Slowbro echelons more than I hate Slowking, because it's physically defensive and stupid, and I hate it. Fuck that Pokemon. He's definitely he squeezed some good value out of his tier 5s. Audino makes a very nice regen core with Slowbro. And Stunfisk really appreciates the double wish from Umbreon and Audino. His defensive core is really gross. I feel like Heatran's kind of redundant on this team, but because he got an underpriced Bulu, I can definitely see the merit there. Regieleki being in grassy terrain as well is definitely a nice pickup there. The round 1 Mega Gallade I really like, because I think Mega Gallade's fucking broken. I really like this team a lot. Heatran being redundant is my only real problem with it, especially with Celesteela, but I mean, they don't share any weaknesses. Obviously, in fact, they cover each other pretty well. The problem is obviously the electric thing, and he doesn't really like electric types that much. His immunity is Stunfisk, which Obviously a pretty solid ground type. I learned that during the playoffs, but it's I mean I knew that already, but going into the playoffs it was really annoying. Yeah, electric types do kind of give him a bit of hell. He's gonna have to watch out for that. But yeah, no, I like this team quite a bit. My only gripe with it is, I mean, he also has Sticky Web on it too. That definitely supports Gallade. Yeah, my only problem is the Heatran pickup. I think there's like, and plus he only has what, 2 rockers, so being Heatran and Stunfisk. I definitely think this team could stand to get a bit more hazard stack on it because Mega Gallade really appreciates hazard stack options outside of Sticky Web. Like Toxic Spikes and Spikes to wear shit down is definitely really good for Gallade. He also has just like not very good hazard removal. It's just Regieleki from what I can, and Noivern from what I can see. And his team is relatively vulnerable to hazards, like Spikes and T-Spikes, if the boots get knocked off on Bro. And Heatran, I guess if he brings boots on that, it's pretty problematic for him. His team is relatively grounded outside of Celesteela and I think and Noivern. I keep glossing over Noivern. Noivern's definitely a good pickup for this team. The speed tier is nice. He's definitely going to have the speed advantage because Regieleki is stupidly fast. So that's pretty good. And he does help, and I mean, Bulu and Regieleki definitely seems like a promising core. He's definitely going to have a good time breaking through ground types. I like his team quite a bit. Just a couple changes I'd make, but his tier 5s are good value, and I like a lot of his mons. It's just I feel like Heatran's kind of redundant on this team, but I can see why he picked it up for sure. I definitely like it. I like this team. I don't hate it. Up next, we have me. My team is dog shit. I have Cinderace, Rotom Wash, Weezing, Galarian Form, Blissey, Piloswine, Archeops, Melmetal, Articuno, Galarian Form, Heracross, Zarude, and Dusknoir. I picked up way too many physical breakers, so that's kind of an issue. There's a lot of overlap in terms of that physical breaking role on my team, but I think that I still picked up a good pile of Mons. I picked up the underpriced Blissey, like I always do. You know, I like my defensive core. I struggle with bulky waters though, outside of Zarude and Rotom Wash, but that's fine. My rockers are okay. I usually like getting like 4 rockers on the team. Sometimes I go all out and get like 5, but decided to cut it back this time. And yeah, Blissey's a good rocker. Piloswine's a good rocker. Archeops like slapping them on once in a while. Dusknoir is a terrible Pokemon. I'm probably going to end up dropping that. And then Melmetal is a pretty weird fit on this team, mostly because my Volt Turn isn't that amazing. I have a bit of it, obviously, and a lot of the mons are good at getting momentum. Cinderace, Rotom Wash, Blissey, Archeops, Articuno, and Zarude. But I think I could do with a different Steel type, probably, now that I think about it. So I might have to end up patching up my team a little bit, but I do like my team how it is right now, so I'm not going to comment on it too much. Mostly because I knew my thought process, and yeah, I like my team. I think it probably goes towards the bottom end of the text document, though, to be honest. Next, we have Nintago, coach of the Waterloo Mienfoo. His team consists of Tapu Koko, Scizor, Roserade, Politoed, Yanmega, Oricorio, Garchomp, Rapid, Urshifu, Tornadus, Kabutops, and Pineco. Politoed Rain is such a step below Pelipper Rain that I personally don't like it. I think this team gets a lot worse with the Politoed as opposed to the Pelipper, especially because he's leaning on Rain really hard, I feel like. Definitely this team functions without it, and I like that he picked up a Grass type in Roserade that has Weather Ball access, because that mon definitely benefits from Rain, obviously being able to lose the Fire weakness. Scizor is a solid pickup. Urshifu Rapid in Rain sounds terrifying. Tornadus, Kabutops. Tornadus definitely functions well outside of Rain, and I guess Kabutops can, because it's got the Rapid Spin buff and stuff. This team's pretty solid. Like I said, I think getting Pelipper is just is something you should probably prioritize, honestly. I think Pelipper is just so much better as a Rain setter than Politoed, because Politoed just is a momentum sink. You have to bring it in and then switch in your Rain Benefactor or sack your Politoed, and I think that that's kind of bad. Yeah, plus Pelipper adds on a bit of more utility. I know the expense is a bit more, but that's because Pelipper's just the better Pokemon. I don't like Yanmega on this team personally. I think it does force some prep, but like it's kind of redundant because he's got the Tornadus and the Oricorio already. I don't think Yanmega's a good fit on this team. I would probably get a different tier 4. I think there's just a bit of redundancy on this team. But I do like the rain aspect because Coco and rain is ridiculous. Paired that with the 2 hurricane spammers in Tornadus and Yanmega. Roserade benefits from rain, Scizor benefits from rain. Kabutops is obviously much better with rain being up, and Urshifu Rapid gets a stab boost. I like Garchomp on this team quite a bit. I do like this team a bit. Pineco is fine, I guess, if you want a hazard setter with spin. There's really not that many options. He wanted Crustle initially, but it was 40 points when he only had 20 left over. I like this team. There's just some issues I have with it. Yanmega being a redundancy is one of them. I feel like getting, like dropping it for something that's 40 points. I don't know where else he'd make room, though, if he wanted to pick up Pelipper, but like dropping Yanmega would probably be a start. Maybe dropping it for a tier 5, even. Maybe another, like, Stealth Rocker, maybe another Electric Check. A second ground type I think would be decent on this team, because you are leaning on Garchomp to check electric types a lot, especially with terrain being up. And Roserade too, but Roserade doesn't usually... I mean, no, people like defensive Roserade more. I'm personally an offensive Roserade fan, but no, Roserade can be a really suitable electric check. But I think dropping Yanmega for something that, instead of making your team more vulnerable to electric, something that could check them a bit better would be better. So like a 20-point ground type. I don't think Claydol got taken. Just as an example, something like that I think would suit this team pretty well. Yeah, I don't think Claydol got taken. I think that would be a solid pickup, and then I think Pelipper's 120 points. And then bam, I think your team is a bit better in that way. I like Oricorio on this team. I like that it's malleable. Hurricane from that thing is pretty annoying to switch into because it's pretty strong, and he has access to 4 forms, which is definitely some versatility. He also has access to a fire type with it, and I think a fire type on rain is kind of underrated because, because grass types are kind of a problem for him. Not really, though. Because he has a Tornadus, a Yanmega, and a Scizor, so... And something else that and a Roserade. So yeah, grass types aren't too big of a problem for this rain team, and that's something I really like seeing. Rain teams that don't struggle with grass types. Yeah, I like that a lot. He could go for, like, trying to get Mega Swampert, but I think Mega Swampert on rain is an overrated commodity. I think, obviously, Mega Swampert's better in rain. I just switched to a different page on my document. Whoops. Yeah, I think, but I do like this team in terms of being a... Where is it? It's OBL, I think, this page, yes. Yeah, I like this team in terms of being a rain team, so, yeah. Coco, Scizor, Rain is pretty annoying to deal with. Up next, we have Dr. Strange McDuck, coach of the Indiana Weather Hazards. His team consists of Clefable, Rotom Heat, Jellicent, Miltank, Musharna, Raichu, Rillaboom, Mega Aggron, Girder, Hydreigon, and Armaldo. I'm not too big on this team. I think there are some problems, but his defensive core is really good. Clefable, Musharna, Miltank, Jellicent, like, his team is really fat. And the offense is pretty good. The speed is an issue. His fastest Pokemon is a Miltank, which is it's a Raichu, which is a pretty interesting way of going about it, especially because I don't think Raichu's coming to too many games, because it's not very good. I like this team's bulk a lot. I think it complements itself pretty well, but he could stand to have more offensive presence. Obviously, Rillaboom plus Hydreigon is pretty dangerous on its own. Girder's a pretty solid low-tier pickup for him. I do like that Pokemon quite a bit this gen, especially with Defog. His hazard options are pretty good. He's got 3 pretty good rockers. Well, 2 pretty good rockers and an Armaldo, and an Aggron. So he's got 3 really good rockers and an Armaldo, so that's pretty solid. He doesn't have any, like, stacking options besides that, so he doesn't have a Spiker, a T-Spiker, or a Weber, which I think is kind of a crime, especially if you're picking a bulky offense. But yeah, a lot of his bulk has momentum on it as well. A good bit of it does. I say that and I look at it, is only 3 that do are Clef, Musharna, and Rotom Heat, so that could be an issue, but it's still a really fucking fat team, and it's probably going to be a pain in the ass to prep for because we play this week. Great, I'm going to have to make this a stall game. Yeah, I like your team. It's probably going to end up on the lower end of the power rankings just because everybody else has a good team as well. But I think your team could stand to have some fixing. I think more offense would be nice. You're just kind of leaning on offensive Hydreigon, Rillaboom, And Girder, I think, is your offense, really? I think Girder plus offensive Rotom Heat and Raichu. So there's a speed problem there with your offense. And yeah, but a lot of it does cover each other pretty decently. Like Rillaboom plus Hydreigon is just a pretty potent offensive core on its own. Tack on a Rotom Heat that can check grass types or Rillaboom, then yeah, you got a decent setup there. But yeah, the Volt turn on this team is pretty nice. Overall, I think it's a solid team. It's just got a few holes in it that I personally would patch up. It's just way too fat for me. Yeah, I don't want it. You can have it. It's too fat for me. So up next we have Sly, coach of the Seattle Swallows, and he's drafted a Pokemon that I have a lot of experience with. Mew, being that Pokemon. Haxorus, Serena, Galvantula, Rhydon, Avalugg, Zapdos, Galarian, Arcanine, Drapion, Togetic, and Mega Slowbro. This is a fucking slow team, isn't it? But he's got Sticky Web on it, so it's fine. Oh my god, he picked up the underpriced Mega Slowbro. This team is so fat. What the fuck? Yeah, his team is pretty good. I think there's a few problems I have. His fastest Pokemon being Galv is one of them. I think he could go for having an offensive Pokemon above base 100. Galvantula isn't a raw wall breaker in and of itself. It can definitely run a strong set, but I think he's probably picked it up mostly for Sticky Web, and I think that's pretty much what Galv is best suited for, but on its own, obviously, it's a decent Pokemon. Its Dual Stab is pretty good. Haxorus and Sticky Web is pretty good. I think he drafted around Mew pretty decently, because he's got, what, one other rocker, which I think is a problem. But I think I guess you can get away with having Mew as one of your other stealth rockers, because it's a good stealth rocker. I just don't like running rocks on Mew that often. Yeah, his hazard options are okay. He's got Drapion and Galvantula for that, outside of rocks. His hazard removal's pretty good. I think Galarian Zapdos gets Defog. I'm not going to bother checking, but he's also got Mew, Serena, Avalugg, and Togetic, which is pretty okay. He's definitely drafted decent tier 5s. I hate Togetic. I think that mon sucks cock, but people seem to think it's decent. I think it's got good momentum, but it's just so passive that yeah, I don't like it. But his defensive core is pretty nasty. He's got Mega Slowbro plus Arcanine, which is pretty gross in and of itself. Tack on the underpriced Avalugg, Rhydon, Serena, Mew, potentially, and Togetic. Like, that's just gross. Drapion as well, I guess, can go defensive. His offensive core is pretty potent in spite of being pretty slow. Mew, Haxorus, Zapdos, and I guess Slowbro can go offensive if it really wants to. Serena can go offensive if it really wants to. So yeah, he's got a decent amount of offense. It's just a speed problem. Galvantula is pretty strong too. Like I said, it's not a raw breaker, but it can definitely get away with a Life Orb set. And nothing really like switching into that, really, because it gets coverage for ground types. So yeah, overall, I like this team. It's not something I personally draft if I'm getting Mew first, because I like getting like Hazard Stack with a Mew. I like getting Hazard Stack in general, but I mean T-Spikes with a Mew is definitely nice. I would probably get another like 2 more rockers outside of Rhydon and Mew, so I get 3 different ones, because I like that aren't Mew, because I just don't like running Stealth Rock on it if I don't have to. Last season being the exception, but I ended up dropping another Stealth Rocker, so I was stuck with Mamoswine and Mawile as my other ones. But he's definitely got a really solid team going on. His defensive core is really gross. Next we have Koala. Koala Rampage goes to the Indianapolis Komalas. Very creative. He's got Jirachi, Togekiss, Regidrago, Incineroar, Hitmonchan, Torterra, Mega Beedrill, Raikou, Chansey, Mantine, and Frostlass. I think this is my first time actually looking at this team. This team is pretty weird. He said Regidrago's pretty underrated. I would love for him to prove me wrong, because I think that mon is dog breakfast. Or that mon is dog meat, or a dog's breakfast, or whatever. I was trying to say 2 different words at once. I think it's fine, because it's pretty strong, but it's just hard checked by fairies and steals that, I don't know, it doesn't get momentum like Reggie like he does. I don't think it gets spin like Reggie like he does. It definitely has decent physical coverage, so it gets like fighting coverage to hit steel types. I think it gets ground coverage. I could be wrong. I think it gets fire punch and stuff. I know it gets decent physical coverage. It's just escaping me what that is. His momentum is definitely really nice. Jirachi, Togekiss, Incineroar, Mega Beedrill, Raikou, Chansey, Frostlass. No, not Frostlass. Mantine didn't get flip turn either. But he's definitely got a good amount of momentum to bring in the Reggie Drigo, because I know that's probably a center point for him, because he was talking about it a lot after the draft was, as the draft was going on, after he picked it. He really likes that mon, so he's definitely got good momentum to bring that thing in. His speed tiers are pretty solid. He's definitely got a nice speed aspect. Mega Beedrill down to, what's it called? Down to Raikou isn't the best, but I mean, obviously, again, you're picking up Mega Beedrill. That's one of the fastest mons in the game. There's going to be a speed gap. Yeah, I like it. His speed's good. One more mon above base 100 would probably suit this. No, he has a Frostlass. So yeah, there you go. That's pretty solid. He's got Raikou, Frostlass, down to Jirachi. Definitely a solid speed setup there. Better than mine, probably because he has the Mega Beedrill. Anyway, yeah, he's got a pretty solid team. He's got good mons on it. The synergy, I think, is pretty good. Chansey's definitely a nice glue for this team. Chansey plus Togekiss is a solid core in and of itself. Mantine's definitely a solid partner for it as well, even though they're both special walls. Anything that really resists fighting is just a good partner for Chansey, honestly. Yeah, it seemed like he stacked a bunch of, I mean, Jirachi, Togekiss, both of those can go physically defensive. Chansey's obviously got a Violate, but if that gets knocked off, its Phys Def isn't that good. It's got the HP. Mantine isn't really good Phys Def, but I mean, he seemed like he stacked more towards the Spidef end of the thing, of the spectrum, because Incineroar is really, and Torterra really is only physical walls, which could be an issue, but I think you can obviously run Phys Def spreads on pretty much every defensive Pokemon on this team, so it's probably not that big of a deal. I like the fact that he picked up Hazard Stack with Frostlass, getting a Spikes option just adds a lot more threat capacity to your team. T-Spikes on Mega Beedrill as well. I like a lot of the mons on this team. I don't know how well it's going to gel together, though. Obviously, I saw he won Week 1 against Destiny, but yeah, I like his team. I like a lot of the mons on it. I feel like Hitmonchan's definitely a sleeper threat in Gen 8, so overall, positive vibes from this team. Man, it's going to be hard to pick a last place team on this docket. I think it might have to be mine, to be honest. Anyway, last but not least, we have the team that I really like the most, honestly, is Cyan's, coach of the Landorus. Tornadus T, Nidoking, Lycanroc, Dusk, Jolteon, Aromatisse, Gothorita, Urshifu, Single Strike, Mega Scizor, Shaman, Delphox, and Cramorant. I have no real complaints about this team other than the fact that he got a Mega Scizor and his main fire resist is a Cramorant. I know he dropped it for Lapras, which I think is active week 2? Yeah, it is active week 2. So that's another thing I didn't factor into this. So I knew I was missing a couple of free agents, but that's perfectly fine. Yeah, I think this team is really solid, mostly because all of these are mons that I really like, and mons that I've used a lot in the past, primarily looking at Tornadus, Nidoking, Lycanroc, Jolteon, Urshifu, well not Urshifu actually, Mega Scizor and Shaman. I really like those mons. My only problem is obviously the solidity of his fire checks. I think if you're getting Mega Scizor, you should get a defensive partner for it that is really solid, and a solid offensive partner, which I think he's done pretty well with getting Urshifu and Tornadus. Lycanroc's actually one of my favorite offensive partners for Mega Scizor, now that I think about it, because it pressures the fuck out of fires, and they both stack up pressure against water types, which is pretty nice for Urshifu and Torn. But I feel like getting a better bulky water on this team is probably a good way to go. And the fact that he picked up Lapras, which I don't think it gets thick fat, does it? I don't know. I feel like getting something that resists fire on this team would be much, much better for you. You're leaning a lot on Aromatisse and Torn to take fire hits, really. And the more I look at it, the less I really like that. But aside from that, I really do like this team a lot. Nidoking's a nice fit here. His hazard stack options are good. He's got 1, 2 rockers, I think. Yeah, we did play in week 1, so I should know this pretty well. Yeah, he's got 2 rockers. I feel like they're both offensive rockers, so maybe getting a bulky rocker would be, well, more suited for your team, but I do like your team quite a bit. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a power ranking, a text document that's gonna be attached in the description. This was 50 minutes, going over pretty much everyone's team. I felt like I did it as quickly as I could, concisely. It's as fast as you can go over 12 teams. So yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah, if you have anything to say to me, say it down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Yeah, see you next time. Bye-bye.